Hey guys, welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. It's game week 22. I don't know about you guys, I just want this season over and drastic changes to be made. Ben's not joining us today because I think he's actually had enough. No, he has got other commitments. That's why he's not joining us. But he did tell me to let you know that he's absolutely fuming and seething with what he saw with the Reds. So just take that on board. Yeah, he's not a happy customer. And so let's just get into it. And let's just start with Liverpool first. So Liverpool won, Burnley won. I have no idea what's going on with Liverpool. I feel like I'm watching the same turgid performance again and again and again. It's been 12 games unbeaten run, and it doesn't inspire me. It doesn't excite me. I don't see us turning a corner. It's almost like just playing it safe. We're playing like an average mid-table side. And my expectations are of an average mid-table side as well, which is absolutely damning considering Liverpool are defending champions, and for me, this looks like the worst title defense in as long as I can remember. I think it's even worse than what happened to Man City last season. I'm just absolutely aghast at the performances, the results, you know the the whole unrest, and everything that's happening. And this team has got some great players. It's got quality, and they're just not clicking, and they're just not playing well. And you are sat there and you're thinking, are they not being coached properly? Can they not play well together? What is going on with them? And you're sat there and you're thinking, I don't think I can watch any more of this. I mean, the positive things are, people like Frimpong, I just want him as a winger. Like, I just feel that we need to, like, we do need a right back, and just let him just go explosive on the right hand side. But just massive misses with regards to the big injuries that we have, and of course, Mo Salah not being there as well. And Isak, he can't come back quick enough. And I feel like we're just heavily reliant on this newfound form by Wirtz in this Liverpool side. It just took him a little while to adapt and adjust, but all that long range shooting and wasteful. I'm so tired. It's really horrible to watch. And I don't watch anything. I mean, the Arsenal game was probably the last one where there was like a lot of positives to maybe you can take away from that. It's a bit more of a performance. It was a good point away as well at the Emirates as well. And you're sat there and you're thinking, what on earth am I watching? I don't recognise this Liverpool side. And it actually feels worse than COVID football. I'm going to be honest with you. At least then you could argue that, that the stadiums are empty and Virgil van Dijk's injury and all the defenders being out. But this is just awful. And I just feel like Slots maybe ran out of ideas. And he was brought in. He was brought in to be like a manager that's quite similar to Jurgen Klopp. And last season he did do things, but he did things ever so slightly different, and he tweaked it. And we liked that. We liked a little bit of originality, because I don't think anybody wanted like him to just not, like not have any ideas or philosophies. But I feel like this season he's done a complete U-turn. It's overly cautious, and we're not really seeing out games. And the fact that Burnley got a point at Anfield, at the home to the champions, and with something like 14 points off Arsenal now, who drew this weekend against Nottingham Forest. And you sat there and you're thinking, what on earth is going on? And, United are already a point behind because, of course, they beat Man City. And I mean, I do look at that table and I do think, oh my God, we've actually sat fourth, which, I don't know, is the standard of the Premier League really bad this season? Everyone is doing really bad, because if I'm just looking at Liverpool and the performances and some of the losses that we've had and some of those shocking draws, they should be somewhere in the middle or close to the bottom. It's just horrendous. And then obviously those missed opportunities, with Szoboszlai missing the penalty and stuff, and those things, they always come back to bite you. But I just think Liverpool are just looking really, really problematic everywhere. And I think that is a big concern. And I think a lot of Liverpool supporters are just kind of seeing out the end of the season and, hoping that we get Champions League football, because I do believe that, it's just it just seems very inevitable now that maybe Slot's time at Liverpool is potentially done. And, those are my like takeaways from this game. I mean, if you can't beat Burnley at home, and the crowd were booing as well, I literally have no words for anything anymore. And, that is just literally the nature of where we are. And it's just really sad and depressing, isn't it? When you just think about football, we're meant to kind of enjoy, or we're meant to take something, but I just don't see things getting better anytime soon. I mean, Verts is doing incredible, and I love that he got a goal as well, and that's phenomenal stuff for him, and I'm made up for him. But he's playing around everyone who's just decided to become dross. But a great point for Burnley, a huge point for Burnley, and they'll be really proud of that. And I just think now it might just be a trend that people come to Anfield and they kind of expect, you know, some points, a point, and that's just not acceptable. And I don't think any Liverpool fan should be thrilled or satisfied with us being on this unbeaten run with the caliber of teams that we played and the points that we've dropped. And that's all I will say on the matter. And I think, let the next game roll on. I think that's where we are. And I think the only way that he saves anything is if he actually wins the Champions League, which could potentially happen. Anything can happen in Champions League. It's a different competition altogether. Maybe Liverpool thrive in that. But as a whole, I just think, it's just not looking great. We have a comment here. Let's see. Alonso is a done deal, I heard. Happy day. Happy day. That's from James Doherty. A lot of people are saying this, and I just think because of his sacking as well, and it's just timed so perfectly, and I think people are kind of looking at that and thinking it would be done. I don't think anyone would be. I don't think anyone would be like aggrieved by that. I do, with his history at Liverpool. Obviously he's linked to Verts and Frimpong as well. Probably get the best out of those players, but yeah, I think now I think the manager is under the microscope, and any link will be I think more heightened and more highlighted. And it just feels like we're in that dark era again, when it used to be like Brendan Rodgers, or who's going to come in to replace him, and that era, and I hate that. But yeah, something does need to change, because I can't live through another season of that. I absolutely cannot live through another season of this. Oh, okay. Some ITK news for you right there. Like, this comes from a former Red. It's happening. That's James again. You might be in the know. Who knows? But yeah. Let's see, and let's see what happens. But things do need to improve on the pitch as well, because sometimes I think the more dreadful you are on the pitch, I think it can be a bit of an off put for managers. I mean, look where we were, and I mean, Klopp just wanted a project and wanted to come to an iconic club. But you remember those days when Liverpool were dreadful, and after Rafa Benitez, and nobody would touch Liverpool with a septic barge pole. And we don't want to go down that avenue again, because it wasn't so long ago, to be fair. The younger Liverpool supporters won't know, but they were very, very dark times. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Liverpool. I think I've said a fair bit about them, and the manager thing. I think Alonso is a huge shout, and I think a lot of people are, especially now with him being sacked at Real Madrid as well. I don't think he was given a fair chance, and yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. But I assume that there'll be loads of managers being linked to Liverpool now, and I think it's just a matter of time. And of course, a Heitinga as well, going to Spurs, and I think a lot of people read something into that as well, because obviously he got sacked from Ajax. People assumed he'd come back and join Slot's coaching team, but of course he's gone off to Spurs. So that's something as well that people are reading into. Let's talk about some of the other results and performances. So the 12:30 kickoff, the Manchester derby, Manchester United 2, Man City 0. New manager, new bounce for Man United. I actually thought they played really well, to be fair. City were awful. I think we all watched it. They were just so off it. I feel like, again, like they're having one of those seasons where, I mean, they are so behind now anyway, so behind Arsenal that in the previous seasons you would give them a fighting chance, but this season they are just so inconsistent. People like, Semenyo stuck the place out, and um, Haaland and course stunk the place out. I thought the Kusanov, the defender, he played really well. Donnarumma had a really good game, but just the lack of consistency is a big thing for Man City. And of course, I am quite triggered by Man City at the moment with the whole Guehi thing as well. Like him obviously going there because they can just pay his wages and we can't do that. So I feel like they'll just probably lick their wounds and move on from that. In this season, I think there's probably two bad seasons for them back to back. But again, they're in the Champions League as well, and anything can happen. With regards to United, I feel like I've read this script before. It feels like Ole is at the wheel again. Carrick's coming, former Red. He did quite well at Middlesbrough, well-ish. They've given him the job. Obviously, lost to Brighton, the FA Cup. He's won his first league game and a Manchester derby as well. It's not some easy game for him, and he'll do really well this season, won't he, guys? And then they'll give him that contract, and then they'll go to pot again, and guess what? He will get sacked. I mean, that's my prediction on it. Got James here again. The Prem is high level all action. Slot would suit a Spanish side, or the like slow tempo. Alonso knows the Liverpool DNA. Really, really making a strong case there for Xavi Alonso. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Man United as well. I mean, it's a great, great result for them at Old Trafford as well. They just want to turn a corner, and they're only a point behind us as well. And they've had quite a dreadful season as well. And of course, a manager change as well for them. So just seems like a lot of teams are in turmoil, doesn't it? I mean, aside if you're an Arsenal fan, in which case you are absolutely buzzing at everyone who is just falling to the sides, constantly. I mean, Chelsea did well. Chelsea beat Brentford 2-0. The new manager, got a win there. And I think that was a pretty standard routine win for Chelsea there, if I'm being absolutely honest. Nottingham Forest holding Arsenal to a draw at home, 0-0, a goalless draw. I mean, that's a decent result for Nottingham Forest. They'll be really, really thrilled with that. And with regards to Arsenal, there's nothing to laugh at. There's nothing to joke about. I mean, they are so advanced and so far ahead that they can afford to have these results and still be in such a healthy position that I don't think it really bothers them all so much. It is a little bit of a shock for you, Leeds beating Fulham. Fulham were quietly just getting on with it, but these promoted sides are really doing something. So you've had Burnley take a point from us, you've got Leeds beating Fulham. And then, of course, we had Sunderland, who beat Crystal Palace 2-1. The promoted sides are no joke this season. And to be honest with you, that is quite refreshing, considering it's so predictable with what's happening at the top of the table that, the new promoted sides haven't just kind of hung their heads in shame. Spurs are very interesting, though. And Thomas Frank there, losing at home to West Ham 2-1, who I think is pretty much a dead certain team to get relegated. So, yeah, that's one that I would probably look at, and I'd think, ooh, is there a bit of a fighting chance? But I think people are kind of predicting that it could potentially be Burnley, West Ham, and Wolves that will go down. And I think that's the general thought and consensus with regards to Premier League. But Sunderland and Leeds are doing pretty well. In particular, Sunderland are literally the team to watch with regards to the promoted sides. They're doing so well, and they look completely unfazed by the challenge of the Premier League. And it's actually quite shocking because they're the ones that have not been in the Premier League for so long, and yet here they are putting up a better fight and a bigger fight. Maybe there's just more hunger and desire in the northeast. But yeah, it's wonderful stuff, and you do absolutely have to tilt your hats off to them. Wolves 0, Newcastle 0. I mean, that's a great point for Wolves, to be fair. And Newcastle will probably just sat there and just sort of really fuming and seething. Really inconsistent side. I don't even know what to make of them, if I'm being brutally honest, because they'll have a really good performance and result, and then they'll do something. Newcastle are currently eighth. They're 33 points. They're actually just 3 points behind us. Do you see? There's a lot of teams that can sneak in. It's so tight, it's so congested, and it is that we're at that point now where we are looking over our shoulders, because anyone can overtake us. And the teams in the mix are the likes of Man United, Chelsea, Brentford, Newcastle, Sunderland in there as well. And I mean, we've got Everton on 32 points, because of course they beat Aston Villa today 1-0, which is a great result for them away from home. And, Villa could have gone 4 points behind Arsenal. And it just goes to show that, no one has pounced or embarked on anything. Well, aside from like the likes of Everton's and the Man Uniteds, but, I'm talking about, the teams that were challenging Arsenal for the title haven't done anything. And, they'll be sat there, and there'll be a lot of licking of said wounds in that regard. But yeah, it's not been great. And, it's just not been a great week of football. If you're a Man United fan, or Sunderland or somebody. But yeah, I think the Premier League just looks pretty much wrapped up from the top. I think it's just a case of who finishes fourth, who finishes fourth and who gets fifth, and I think where all eyes will be on the relegation battle, and I think that's where people will be keeping an eye on things. I forgot how much I dislike Man United. This is James and Doherty again. We must not let them take fourth or fifth place in the Prem this season. I second that, and every Liverpool fan will third, fourth, and fifth this. Yes, it would be an absolute disaster. But then that could be the reason why Carrick gets the job and they do an Ole 2.0 again. That could potentially happen. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. But I think United are probably just urging and screaming for some kind of consistency, if I'm being brutally honest. And, they've not really clicked into gear. I mean, for them, actually, like Dogu has been getting a fair few goals as well. So, maybe they do kind of fancy themselves. Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see. The Premier League this week, it's been an absolute write-off. I mean, for me, the biggest bugbear will be that Liverpool could not beat Burnley at home. That's just It's just so embarrassing. Our sub bench should be able to do that, let alone the players that we started, which were pretty strong as well. But guys, that is me signing off on the final whistle. Hopefully Ben should be back next weekend. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week. That's me with my fume session done. And take care, and I will catch you next week.